Oh, hell yeah. Here we go. Welcome, one and all. Your guild has started a new raid. I ain't got time for that. What's up, everybody? My name is Louis Vuitton. Thank you for stopping by. Now, perhaps if you haven't been able to guess already, I am an Australian streamer. Left-wing, progressive streamer. I like to talk about things like, workers' rights, minority rights, in particular trans and indigenous rights, and other stuff such as, say, masculinity. I like to talk about that a lot. It's a whole lot of fun. I like to talk about what's good about masculinity and what's not so good. See if we can't try and find a bit of a more healthy sense of it in the future. Well, not just in the future, but now, in 2021. So, let me open the stream by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm coming to you live from. The Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, emerging, and welcome any indigenous people joining us today. Excuse me. So, alrighty. I was going to say something, but it's completely flitted out of my head, so I will move on. Yesterday on stream I was talking about trying to find when FoS was going on Tim Pool's show. I didn't know it was going to be today or tomorrow to debate Charlie Kirk, of course, on critical race theory. However, I have since found out through quite easily, through Twitter, that it's going to be tomorrow from 8 p.m. EST, which is 10 a.m. my time. So tomorrow I am going to be live reacting to the stream. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm really excited about it because I caught some of their FoS and Timple's talk last time, but not the whole thing. Unfortunately, I missed a good half of it. I don't know. Maybe I had class that day, maybe. But yeah, unfortunately, the conversation went on for I think 3 hours, maybe even more, 4, and I only caught about maybe an hour and a half, which is so unfortunate. So I remember catching a lot of the Q&A, but not a whole lot of the debate. I don't know, maybe I had class. I don't know. Anyway, tomorrow, I'm pretty sure I do have class, but fuck it, whatever. We're going to watch the whole thing. So it should be a good, 8 p.m. Should be a good 3 hours or so. At least 2, I reckon. Charlie Kirk is a pretty good media figure. A bit of an empty suit, but definitely somebody that FoS has to watch out for, because not only is he going up against Charlie Kirk, he's going up against Tim Pool. Let's be honest, Tim's not going to sit back. And he's also going up against the lovely, fascistic femme fatale Cassandra Fairbanks. And I'm sure that she won't be able to resist jumping in either. So, yeah, that's going to be tomorrow. In the meantime, though, we can just chill while I eat my breakfast muffins, alright? Yum, alright. So, let's take a look at something.
Good morning, U.S. Capitol. Where is everybody? What's up, everybody?
Say hello.
Woo, woo, woo.
You just made it.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. If you're up and on this live, you're out here with the early birds, getting the worms of extending eviction moratoriums.
If we sound a little giddy and laughing at our own jokes, it's because we're a little tired. But
we've been up.
So it's 6:30 over there right now in DC. It's a little early.
All night. We're out here. This is Representative Jimmy Gomez, California.
34th District.
We've got reps, we've got organizers, we've got people here all over the place, and we held it down.
So Corey was, she held it down for 3 nights. Couldn't sleep because they don't let you lay down on the steps.
Yes.
So we tagged in and held it down for Corey and continued her work. And all these folks here made it through the night. No zombies. We're going to make sure that we get the eviction moratorium extended. But every time we stay one more night, the more attention we bring to people's plight. And you know what? This is
So they are, of course, talking about the ending of the eviction moratorium, which expired today, I believe. Well, not today US time, because it's now a new day in the US, but yesterday US. So, and there's been some, I don't even know, like tens of thousands of eviction notices been put in. People already being evicted. I've seen videos on it on Twitter. People in, like, New York being evicted because they can't pay their rent because, you know, funnily enough, we're in a pandemic, so people haven't been able to work. So obviously they're here to try and get it extended. Well, I guess not extended at this point, a new one.
Nothing compared to what people have to do on the streets.
Yeah.
So
100%.
thank you all for just being here and holding up the, you know, our values that everybody deserves a place to live and a shelter to call home.
So, amen. So here we are. Morning. And so here's the message of the day. Joe Biden.
I didn't mention the birds.
Okay, the birds are coming out now. So the message of the day is the White House needs to get its act together and extend the eviction moratorium. We do not want to hear the excuses about what will the court do, etc. The administration had no problem with what their authorities were when they decided to authorize military strikes without congressional authorization and informing Congress earlier this year. There doesn't seem to be a lot of concern. And in fact, they're using and citing some of the same areas of law to extend some of the Trump-era refugee border restrictions.
English, and don't be horny on Maine, alright? Keep it in your pants. I don't have to bonk you.
So I'm sure they can find it in their authority to challenge the eviction moratorium expiring. I believe...
One would think so.
If it's not the CDC, maybe we can dig into our little executive action authority here. But we think that he can do it. I mean, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has said that he can do it. So really, I think this is coming down to political will. Is the administration willing to challenge it? Or are we going to roll over and allow 1 in 6 renters in this country to be at risk of eviction? Doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
1 in 6. 1 in 6. That's insanity. 1 in 6 at risk? Angler Train, were you actually in that Among Us game with AOC? I remember watching the first one. It was a hoot. Hang on. How many people in the US rent? How many renters in the US? In 2020, there are approximately 43 million units occupied by renters in the United States. So that's not people, that's just properties. 43 million properties. So obviously, in a family, there's more than one unit, or more than one people in one property. Jesus. That's fucked. 1 in 6. That is, oh my god. I watched it. I watched it too. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And that's like, that's what I really like about politicians like that. Like having like more, social media minded politicians allows them to be more broachable by the public. Like I'm a huge advocate for direct democracy. Of about, making our representatives accountable to us, because, I mean, we vote them in, and then in 3-4 years' time, we can vote them out, but we vote them in and then trust that they will represent our interests, and if they don't, too bad. By the time the next elections come around, people have forgotten anyway. So, hey, direct democracy, in tandem with representative democracy, will help to combat that. And part of that, at least, is social media. Having people have a very public face, making them more accountable to their representatives.
as well as a systemic risk, as well as catastrophic, materially, economically, politically, just all of it, emotionally, mentally. We can't be allowing for this. So shout out to all, look at this, shout out to the thousands of people out here. Someone said, I'm drinking Sprite and eating McDonald's right now. Why am I here? It's because it's 6 a.m. And it's either 6 a.m. because you woke up or 6 a.m. because you stayed up. Okay,
Yeah,
so
6 a.m. crew.
you're the 6 a.m. because you stayed up crew. So we stayed up too. Thank you so much. And again, all these folks, here's the deal. You want to stay at the Capitol, you're not allowed to lay down. So all of these folks were here sitting up the whole entire night, calling attention, holding it down, because we see these waves. And like during the day, way more people come, but to have people hold it down.
This concept of like, you need a physical presence to hold up policy, that's such an antiquated concept. Like this idea that you can't just have a vote where it's like, okay, well, this needs to be tabled for how long? Or, you know, we need to address this now. Like the fact that you need to physically have a presence there. Like this is something that Bernie Sanders has been really famous for. Like standing in the Senate, you know, making speeches like for hours just to hold up votes. Like that kind of, like, it's such an antiquated idea. And the fact, like, it's just what I was talking about. Just what I was talking about with direct democracy. The fact that we don't have a way to hold our representatives accountable, and they need to do things like literally have a physical presence to stop things from going ahead.
Down overnight is just a next level thing. So thank you. Shout out to you all. Thank you all so much for doing that. And we're going to keep doing this because, listen, some folks may want to go on vacation. We're here to prevent eviction. That's what we're here to do. Right. We're here to do our job. Jimmy Gomez flew in from California. So listen, members are coming back to take this vote. That's right. So we need to keep it, we need to make sure that we're doing that. And we're not going to allow these myths about...
Oh my God, I'd forgotten about that. I forgot that Nancy Pelosi was on vacation right now. Absolute ghoulish behavior. 1 in 6 renters is facing eviction. But it's an appropriate time to go on vacation. Because it's, what, like... July? August now? Ghoulish behavior.
People on the brink of eviction to perpetuate. First of all, there's $46 billion in rental assistance that has been authorized. Only $3 billion has been released by states and local municipalities. That includes Governor Cuomo, for which there wasn't a dollar that was released until about June. So, I mean, we cannot be kicking people out of their homes when the money that is authorized to pay back rent hasn't gone out, hasn't been released. And so we need to extend the moratorium. We need to stop engaging in this idea. Remember, there isn't a single, when people say, oh, why don't these folks get a job? There isn't a single state in the United States where you can pay rent on a minimum wage job. People do have jobs. How are you going to pay first, last, and security on $7.25 an hour?
This is another thing. Like, when people talk about $15 as a livable wage, $15 is roughly the same amount, obviously, converted to Australian currency for the Australian minimum wage. And let me tell you, I've worked Australian minimum wage jobs, and that is not a livable wage. Like, the American people are so gaslit on what a minimum wage is. $15 sounds like so much to them. It reminds me of when I when I first turned 18 and became an adult and started working like adult jobs. Now, it felt like I had so much money coming in because I'm working like 3, 4, 5 days a week, variable, casual. I've got all this money coming in. It's crazy because I've worked like crappy part-time jobs as a teenager, but I hadn't worked like a real job, not like a real job, but, I hadn't worked I hadn't been earning like an adult wage. I hadn't been working like up to 5 days a week, and like generally I'd work about 4 days a week. But it was like this shock that I had so much money coming in, and I thought, "Wow, this is amazing." And then, really, after not much time, I realized, wait a minute, I'm really not earning that much money at all. Like, when everything piles up, when rent piles up, rent, bills, internet, phone, food, oh my god, like, groceries, like everything. You know, like, car insurance, petrol, what else? Medication, like, everything. Like, laundry, having to, if you don't have a laundry machine, everything piles up. And this is the thing, like, you really can't afford all that on a minimum wage job, or at least if you can, you just get by. Like, I've never had savings. Like, the only time I had savings was when I worked 60 hours a week, and it took me months just to have a few $1,000s in the bank. Like, I think overall I had about $7K, and that took me like, I don't know, like 6-8 months to earn. So, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a strong advocate for the $15 minimum wage in America, but $15 is not the ceiling. $15 is the first story. Angela Clade, I think objective truth does exist. Okay, well, let me finish this AOC video. We can talk a little bit about that, because I would disagree, but I'm keen to hear your rationality.
You can't. And so this just goes to show how much of how systemic this is. The Delta variant is on the rise. Communities that are most on the
Go get vaccinated if you live in America. It's literally free.
brink of eviction are also struggling the most in getting vaccinated, getting access to the vaccine. And that's not just due to misinformation or disinformation, but it's because a lot of people just don't believe that the vaccine will be free. And that's how it just speaks to the impact that our for-profit health system has on people. I mean, I know when I wasn't insured, I wouldn't go to the doctor for nothing because I didn't want to be having huge bills that were thousands of dollars. So anyways, we're out here in the Capitol, camping out. Thank you all so much. And remember, the mantra of the day is that Biden needs to extend the eviction moratorium. This whole excuse about the Supreme Court, the Kavanaugh opinion was predicated on emergency rental assistance funds going out. They haven't gone out. So what we don't want to hear about why folks' hands are tied, trust me, when the executive wants to use and extend his authority, they do it. And so this is really about political will.
And it was based before the last surge.
That's right.
We have the Delta variant that is infecting more people. You're definitely having more people die who are unvaccinated. So this is a serious issue, not just about keeping people in their homes, but making sure that they don't get coronavirus if they get kicked out.
That's right.
So this is a life and death issue, and we're going to keep pushing. Everybody should keep pushing. And all these folks stay the night and are holding it down. So thank you guys so much for doing that.
Totally. Thank you all so much. Here we are. Good morning. Rise and shine.
All right, very nice. So, a couple of things. First of all, America, it's absolutely fucked that you're the only rich, developed country that does not have some kind of public auction for your healthcare, but whatever. Another thing, absolutely, there's so much more power invested in the executive branch of the United States government than the Australian system. In Australia, it's so fucking easy to flip the prime minister, to spill the prime minister. You just need to flip the backbench, and that's it. There's so much more power invested in the US president system, within the executive branch itself, the position that the president holds. Absolutely, executive order could fix this problem. Whatever. And there's one other thing. Oh yeah. Also, so deaths among vaccinated people have pretty much plateaued. However, deaths among unvaccinated people, away it goes. Go out and get the vaccine, alright? I've had my first jab. I can get it 21 days from the 28th, alright? I felt a little bit down for a few days after getting it. Now I feel fine. So hey, I'll get my appointment booked in and get my second dose, alright? If you can get it, get it. Alright. Anglican, lay it on me. What is your argument for objective truth? And how could you possibly demonstrate such a thing? Let's hear it. Anglican, are you even still here? Hang on a sec. But they dipped. Ugh, they've gone and dipped. Bloody hell. Just gonna drop in the chat like, oh yeah, what is it? Barges into any conversation. I believe objective truth does exist. Refuses to elaborate further. Leaves. Alright, whatever. Fine, off you go then. Alright, so. Since tomorrow we're going to be all focused on Tim Pool, I thought we'd hit two birds with one stone and cover a topic in the Australian media, which I've heard a little bit about, but haven't looked into, so I'm really keen to hear just what the fuck is going on, because it honestly sounds pretty yikesy. Yeah. So, also, if you're enjoying the stream so far, I'd mean a whole lot if you would chuck me a follow. Don't worry about, opening up your wallet. Just, hey, chuck me a follow, jump over to YouTube and subscribe to me there. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord through the link down below. And hey, if you do have any money lying around, then it would mean a whole lot if you could chuck some my way. As you can see, we have our daily dono goal, which is to buy me a pizza. I'm a poor student, but I do love pizza, which you can find at... There we go. Alright. So, let's see. Like I said, two birds with one stone. Here we go. So, from Tim Pool, 1.25 million subscribers. Jesus Christ. Whew. Okay. Alright, so. Australia deploys military to enforce COVID lockdown. Biden calls for national vaccine mandate. So here's what I've heard about New South Wales lockdown situation. New South Wales has a conservative government in power, which means that they're utterly helpless to combat the spread of the virus. And for weeks, if not months now, or like at least 1 or 2 months, the government has been very slow to combat an outbreak in the form of lockdowns. Don't ask about vaccines, right? Because we have a terrible vaccine rollout in Australia. Now, in the meantime, Victoria had its own outbreak. We went into lockdown for 5 days. The lockdown was extended for another 7, and then after that, it was deemed safe to open up again, and here we are, out of lockdown with some restrictions, of course. Which will then, alleviate over time. And New South Wales is still floundering. They've had sporadic lockdowns across some areas of Sydney, for instance, but there hasn't been a statewide mandate. So, I'm interested to hear what Tim Pool has to say, and how objective the information is going to be, because I am genuinely interested in this story, because, like I said, poor student, bro, just stop. I mean, I can show you my bank balance now if you like. I'm interested to hear what is going on with this story, and as to why the military has been sent in to enforce lockdowns at this point, when lockdowns could have been started ages ago. We've had plenty of lockdowns in Victoria that have not involved the military, so Tim, take it away.
It's getting dark really fast. Australia sends their military to enforce COVID.
Aw, you mean privileged kid that isn't getting money from Papa anymore. Aww. Nah, mate, I pay my own bills, alright? Doing that ever since I was 18.
Lockdowns in Sydney. Not quite martial law, but what's happening is the suspension of civilian law for special law to be enforced by the military, which fits the definition of martial law, though there is no military commander assuming control and the ability to create and enforce law. So it is not legally on the books martial law, but it gets
I never said I was from the hood, dumbass. You have to be from the hood to be working class. Idiot.
close, only by technicality, I suppose. And the question is, for many people, will we face mandatory vaccination and will we face lockdowns in the United States? And I think the answer is a resounding yes. Jack Posobiec tweeted that according to a source in the White House, there is chatter that within the next couple of weeks, there will be lockdowns. At least the blue states seem to be in line. We'll go over his tweet, and that's not a confirmation. Perhaps White House scuttlebutt, perhaps coloring of the water, meaning the information may not be true. I don't know for sure. What I do know is that Joe Biden has not ruled it out. Joe Biden has not ruled out whether or not the DOJ can force people to take the vaccine, period. He was asked, and he said he didn't know. Now, there is some pushback from the White House saying that
Good, absolutely. People should, lockdown should be enforced, and people, if their doctor deems it safe for them to do so, they should absolutely have to take the vaccine. Sorry, this isn't something you can refuse. It's a pandemic. Are you playing at 150 feet? I am playing at 150% speed just because it is 30 minutes long. Is it too fast? Should we take it down to 125?
they don't want to go this route,
I mean, Tim Pool doesn't... he's not that fast.
and they're trying to avoid this. And yeah, maybe, or maybe they're trying to avoid a panic. You know, we knew things were bad in
This is one of them liberal elites. Ugh, imagine being a liberal.
Australia, but sending in the military to enforce their lockdowns. And why? Well, they said that some people felt the rules didn't apply to them. Sure, but couldn't the police get involved? Or perhaps it was the police who were the ones saying they wouldn't enforce this. Which brings...
I mean, yeah, like, what's wrong with the police? The police have been... Trust me, the military have not been needed in Victoria to enforce lockdowns. We have got on just fine with the police. It sounds like he's on crack. Oh, it's him. Poor baby.
Which brings me back to the U.S. There have been numerous sheriff's departments who have said they're not going to enforce this stuff. With the Delta variant spreading, with the big tech censorship
Wow, authoritarian pigs won't be authoritarian. Interesting.
and the sporadic news, different stories popping up in and out that seem to contradict each other, it really does seem like we are headed for some kind of major crisis, which will likely take the form of lockdowns and some kind of authoritarian rule. And we're also staring down the face of the eviction crisis, which is looming in just about one day.
I mean, lockdowns are not authoritarian, all right? Like, the pro-libertarian position is to be pro-lockdown. Because, hey, libertarianism is all about my freedom ends where yours begins. If there's something like a pandemic around, I must take steps that protect not only myself, but also other people, because if I act in a way that increases their likelihood of their health being affected, and such, their bodily autonomy being affected, well then I have negatively affected their freedom, alright? So if following COVID restrictions decreases the likelihood that their health and freedom will be affected, then I have to follow those rules. Simple. This is like, you know, the same shit as like, where when you're driving late at night, you need to switch your headlights on, alright? Because it helps other cars around you see your car coming. Real fucking simple.
Yeah, that's right. The moratorium on evictions will be ending, and this will result in millions of people getting the boot. New York apparently has a plan. They're going to pay the landlords. Now, Nancy Pelosi has come out saying we need an emergency extension of the eviction, of the moratorium on evictions. There's also been calls to extend the COVID unemployment benefits. While they're talking about locking down this country and forcing people to get vaccines and locking down restaurants, Nevada's been locked down. DC has reintroduced, Nevada has reintroduced mask mandates. DC is reintroducing mask mandates. California, of course. While all that is happening, the southern border is completely porous, and about 1.2 million people have already crossed the border and been arrested this year alone. They're locking down the country in a variety of ways. Not as bad yet, but it could be serious in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, they're opening up, figuratively, the southern border. You know, I was talking to some friends.
Oh my goodness, get over the southern border, alright? It's not a big deal. You cannot police people's movement, alright? People have the freedom to move freely throughout the land, as long as that does not impact on another's freedom. Now, Tim, like, you're so close, alright? Yes, we can't have lockdowns without financial support. This is something that Australia did. This is something that a number of countries did. When they locked down, they provided financial support so that people could pay their rent, people could pay their bills. People didn't have to go out to work because the government provided for them. Simple. So, hey, we've already seen the moratorium on rent evictions cease. So if we're going to extend that and going to extend lockdown, well then, America, come on. You need to have a better safety net. Alright, let's see. College is just for fucking idiots. Here, I have the answer to this issue, kid. Go out on the street to a normal neighborhood, not one of pricks with invented degrees, and ask, do you want a lockdown? If they say yes, we have a lockdown. If we say no, then we don't have a lockdown. End of story. Ah, yes. Go to every person in the US and ask them personally, do you want a lockdown? Go to all 330 million people in the United States of America and ask them all individually, are you in favor of a lockdown? And then we do it. Ah, yes. Brilliant. This is why we have experts. This is why we have people whose industry is specific, that they're an expert in their field, because we don't know, so we defer to them. And mate, I'm sorry, you're not going to like this, but Dr. Fauci is the expert. You know who else we defer to for their expertise? Generals. Admirals. Does the average person have a say in military engagements? No, we defer to experts. So hey, like it or not, Dr. Fauci is the expert, and if Dr. Fauci says lockdowns, then we do lockdowns. Same thing for Australia. I can't remember who the chief medical officer in Australia is, but hey, if they say, this is what the science says, the best course of action is a lockdown, then we follow their expertise, alright? There's some cases in times of crisis, like war, like pandemic, where expertise supersedes democracy. I said go to a name. Experts, lol, all full of shit. Okay, blatant anti-intellectualism, whatever. I don't care, mate. Like, you're just an idiot. You're just out here attacking the the whole institution of education. You sound like a fucking moron. Experts don't talk shit, bro. Talk normally. You're wrong. You're creeping people out. LMAO. Well, you're the one that's out here that just go talk to people one-on-one. My god, that's literally an argument I would expect from somebody like CTV. Just go out and talk to every individual person. Fucking moron. Idiots, but I have more money than you, and unlike you, I didn't know up as a privileged kid. Haha. I didn't know up. That's interesting. Yeah, like, no shit, you have more money than me. I've already said that I'm a poor student. Man, I've got to find out what career you're doing. I must get paid a lot for being a dumb fuck.
Friends, and I said, this is the erosion and the collapse. You know, call it whatever you want. But if you have people bringing in non-citizens, not testing them for COVID, many of them have COVID. We're seeing Border Patrol agents get COVID. They're being ferried and shipped around the U.S. In fact, one whistleblower says the Biden admin was actually trafficking children. Yet at the same time, they're enforcing extreme laws on regular people. It's a narco-tyranny. And I don't know what else to say. You know, there are some questions and concerns about what's happening.
What did he call it? A narco-tyranny. Wait, hang on. Did I mishear that? Also, mate, my parents aren't rich.
One whistleblower says the Biden admin was actually trafficking children. Yet at the same time, they're enforcing extreme laws on regular people. It's a narco-tyranny. And I don't know what else to say.
Okay. I feel like... Okay, hang on. I've got to slow it down. I swear he said a narco-tyranny.
Yet at the same time, they're enforcing extreme laws on regular people. It's a narco-tyranny.
A narco-tyranny. White hot take from disaffected liberal Tim Pool. A narco-tyranny. Interesting. Okay. Anarchism. The abolition of unjust hierarchy. But also tyranny. Huh? Come on, Tim, you can't just say words. You can't just say words in a random order and expect them to make sense. Anarchism and tyranny, like, they're not compatible. My friend. They don't work.
I don't know what else to say. You know, there are some questions and concerns about what's happening to this planet for sure. But I wonder if there's actually any evidence to justify the extremism that we're seeing. And we've seen throughout history the attempts...
He doesn't hear you, kid. Wait, what? Come on, are you that fucking dumb? Seriously?
by authoritarians who seize control, and it seems like authoritarians have certainly seized control this time. Only they're typically wrong. I don't know who's right. I can only tell you it's going to get, well, I would assume it's going to get worse. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com, become a member to help support our fierce and independent journalism, and you'll get an ad-free experience and access to the
Independent journalism, good one.
members-only podcasts from Timcast IRL. These occur after the show, and you're really helping us expand our operation. We'll see how long that lasts. You know, Dave Rubin just got suspended on Twitter for 12 hours. I can only imagine they're coming for us. Big tech censorship, I mean, and we'll do the best we can while we can. Let's read the news and see exactly what's going on. But before we do, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the show with your friends. from timcast.com. Australia sends their military to enforce coronavirus lockdowns in Sydney.
All right, let's
The
go.
Australian military will now be working with local police to enforce coronavirus lockdowns and restrictions in Sydney, including knocking on residents' doors to make
Hit the button. Yeah, I could give it a like. Why not? I'm getting the content from Tim.
sure they are complying. On Monday, approximately 300 soldiers will begin patrolling the city of 6 million, which is under strict lockdown orders until August 28th. NPR reports that the military's help is needed to enforce the restrictions because a small minority of people thought, quote, the rules didn't apply to them. New South Wales Police Minister David Elliott told Australia's Channel 9, quote, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has...
What the fuck? I can't believe that. I cannot believe that New South Wales has been so pathetic at combating its outbreak that it's now had to resort to the military to enforce lockdown. You've got to be kidding me. Look, we saw some pretty heavy-handed police work last year during lockdown in Victoria, but at no point did we have the military in the state. What the fuck, New South Wales? Get your shit together.
has come in for heavy criticism in recent weeks over the slow pace of vaccinations in Australia, where about 14% have been fully dosed, one of the poorest records among any member country of the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the report explains. Will, a resident in Bankstown, told The Guardian that the military
This kid, Louis Batten, calls police because he's scared. That's not even a sentence, mate.
deployment was just a continuation of the heavy-handed approach to enforcement in the region. Quote, it's a sign of a continuation of the militarized and policed response to this entire outbreak. It continues the way Western Sydney is policed, the way movement and recreation is policed, but at the same time it amplifies it and marginalizes people. It just makes it worse. Quote,
100%. They could have had this out. They could have been done with this outbreak weeks ago. If they'd had a sensible 2-week lockdown and maybe extended by another week or so, they would have been done by now. They've been going on like at least a month, getting closer to 2 months now. It's been crazy. We've had our own interim lockdown in the meantime.
quote, their deployment is such a statement about the nature of the problem, and the problem is us, the people who live in Western Sydney. They're saying the problem isn't the vaccine rollout or their failure to support people. The problem is...
God damn it. Hang on. Alright. We'll just get through that. Amazing news. How to make money from Amazon. What a joke. Alright, Tim, you ready? Okay, let's go. Look at this kid, Louis Batten. His hair, it's clear he is one always calling policing on innocent people. This kid, Louis Batten, probably thinks he's like a goblin or dwarf. Look at his beard. Oh my god, absolute boomer tier. I hate my wife. My god. Oh dear. I mean, look, like, you're right about one thing. You are a boomer, so you do have more money than me.
in Western Sydney. They're saying the problem isn't the vaccine rollout or their failure to support people. The problem is our compliance. The resident described the troop rollout as an invasion and said that he believes that it will increase skepticism among those who are not vaccinated. Quote, I can't think of anything that will lend more credence to conspiracy theories than this, the concerned resident added. I can't think of anything. They've been talking about martial law for so long, and now it's confirmed.
The fact that you're 20, if that's true, makes it even worse.
I always say this. You're going to hear me say 50 million times on the podcast. Please don't get medical advice from news articles or from me. I can talk about news. My opinions are not professional expert medical opinions. You need doctors for that. Whether you like your doctor or not, find one you trust. The U.S. government describes martial law as the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked in time of war, rebellion, or natural disaster. Though what is happening in Sydney sounds very similar to what one would expect to see under martial law, and the general description, it is not, unless a military commander takes over authority to make and enforce laws. At least that's according to the U.S. government. I'm sure there are some interpretations of martial law as just the military being called in to enforce the law. I'm sure some people will call this martial law. There'll be an argument over definitions, which I don't think are particularly relevant. But for the sake of clarifying and making sure everybody knows what's happening, we'll just say Australia has deployed its military to enforce COVID lockdowns. Morrison has responded to outrage over the heavy-handed lockdowns by urging people to get vaccinated if they want their freedom back. Quote, if you get vaccinated, there will be special rules that apply to you. Why? Because if you're vaccinated, you present less of a public health risk. You are less likely to get the virus. You are less likely to transmit it.
How can you say that, Scott Morrison, when you fucked our vaccine rollout? We have a surplus of AstraZeneca in the country, but people are too fucking scared to get it because of the blood clots. Now, yes, only 4 people have died from them, so it's like a 1 in 2 million chance that you will die, but it's still enough. We have a very limited number of Pfizer people. It's very prioritized right now as to who can get the vaccine. Like, for instance, aged care workers can get it. People with pre-existing medical conditions can get it. But, like, generally, no. Like, all you can get is AstraZeneca. So this shit about, like, oh, if you're worried about being locked down, then just go get vaccinated. You absolute out-of-touch freak. Disgusting.
The Prime Minister told reporters on Friday,
Ghoul.
according to the Sydney Morning Herald, only that information, I believe, is being contradicted by the Washington Post right now. Now, I'll have more information on that specifically in the next portion of the podcast for those who are watching my videos. That was actually on my other YouTube channel. But Dave Rubin talks a bit about this, and I believe that may not be correct. Go read the Washington Post. Here's an article from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Martial Law in Times of Civil Disorder. Annotation. Martial law involves the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked in a time of war, rebellion, or natural disaster. Suffice it to say, civilians are still in control in Sydney. It is not a military commander who has come in and assumed control. So this is not, at least according to this article from the Department of Justice, it is not necessarily government-defined martial law. They write, when martial law is in effect, the military commander of an area or country has unlimited authority to make and enforce laws. Martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function, is completely absent, or has become ineffective. Further, martial law suspends all existing laws, as well as civil authority and the ordinary administration of justice. In the U.S., martial law may be declared by proclamation of the president or a state governor, but such a formal proclamation is not necessary. Although the U.S. Constitution makes no specific provision for the imposition of martial law, nearly every state has a constitutional provision authorizing the government to impose martial law. The power of martial law, once held to be nearly absolute, has limitations. For example, civilians may not be tried by military tribunals as long as civilian courts are functional. Nonetheless, within the bounds of court decisions, a military commander's authority under martial law is virtually unlimited. Martial law has been declared 9 times since World War II, and in 5 instances was designed to counter resistance to federal desegregation decrees in the South. Although a climate of mutual aid has always existed between the military and civilian law enforcement, and should continue to exist, Department of Defense personnel are limited in what they can do to enforce civil law. Military personnel cannot be used in surveillance or undercover operations, and they may not be used as informants, investigators, or interrogators, unless the investigation is a joint military-civilian operation in which the military has an interest in the case's outcome. Now, this is an article from 1989. It is fairly out of date. And again, as I said, it's just one thing we pulled up from...
Okay, interesting, because obviously this is a US law as opposed to Australian. Even that, I don't know, even that first part, it says, so as long as a civilian maintains control, it's not considered martial law, even though the military has a presence there.
.gov, giving us an idea of what martial law is. I think we are close to whatever martial law is here in the United States, but we'll see. Jack Posobiec tweets, White House chatter is that lockdown...
Jack Posobiec is a Nazi, by the way.
...for Delta variant all but a done deal. Virtually all blue states are cooperating with White House and the CDC. They're aiming for late second week of August per White House official. So we will see. It is not confirmed. It is White House chatter. For all we know, things change. Jack does have sources in the White House and has had many of his stories turn out to be accurate. But we'll see. From Yahoo News, publishing the...
Alright, are we moving on from Australian lockdown? Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you for that, Tim. Genuinely, thank you, because I was not aware of what the military was doing in New South Wales. That's pretty fucked up. That is quite an overhanded reach of government authority. Way uncalled for. Like Tim himself said in this video, what happened to the police? What's wrong with the police? Why are the police incapable of enforcing lockdown laws? Whether you agree with lockdown rules or not, I think we can all agree that the military is not required, even if we have them. Trust me, the police are doing just fine last year without them. So this speaks to the New South Wales incompetent handling of this outbreak. Yeah. The New South Wales government, like I said, it's a Conservative government, so of course they're going to bungle the breakout, but geez, didn't realise they were going it this far. Alright, Jtaris, Jesus Christ, calm down. Also, by the way, boomer is nothing to do with age, boomer is a mindset. You can be 12 and be a boomer. Except I'm wearing D squared, and Louis, you go to the thrift shop and buy something that had piss on it. Yo, that's $50 for a t-shirt. Limited edition, let's do some simple edition. $50 for a t-shirt. Piss. But shit, it was 99 cents! What a cell phone. This kid is wearing gloves with finger holes. Absolutely, mate. It's called Fashion Sweaty, look it up. New Twitch name idea. Louis the Kid, maybe. You're wrong, you're not 20, mate. You're literally like fucking 12, man. This many spelling mistakes? Louis the Nazi Kid. Oh, hey, I do like punks. Punk's pretty cool, and punks walked around with SWAT stickers. Do you have something of substance to say, or are you just going to, like, old man yells at cloud in the chat? What a cell phone about that fashion brand shit. Everyone loves thrift shopping. You dickhead. Alrighty, let's see. Oh, you know what? This might be a great opportunity to talk about another thing that I wanted to bring up on stream. Where is it? Where are we? Here we go. Here's our little graphic. So, as I've said a couple of times on this stream already, completely unprompted, I am a student and I'm majoring in I'm minoring in politics. That's one of the aspects of the study that I do. Now, I had a politics class this morning, and the topic of the week is freedom of speech. Now, unfortunately, because of the COVID outbreak, at least for now, class is being conducted over Zoom. So we had a breakout room at one point where myself and a couple of other students talked about a few expressions of speech and about whether or not they needed to be curtailed. Now, I'm a huge free speech advocate, which is why I've allowed Jartarus to jack off at the jaw and embarrass themselves in my chat. Because, you know, they haven't said anything that's beyond the pale. They've just been old man rambling. So hey, that's okay. Just don't take it too far. However, I wanted to take a look at the expressions of freedom of speech that we looked at in class this morning and share them with you. So, let me see. So here we have 5 expressions of either freedom of speech or freedom of movement, bodily autonomy. So, the first one, you can't see it, but it says, a newspaper article defaming a member of the public. Number 2, a website that gives instructions on how to carry out acts of mass violence. Number 3, pornography depicting consensual sexual acts amongst adults. Number 4, burning the flag in protest against the Iraq War outside the state library. And number 5, the use of recreational drugs in a public park during a sunny afternoon. I like that it specifies sunny as opposed to rainy. So, before I get into actually breaking down these different ideas, I want to talk about the actual experience I had in class today, because, like I said, there was 2 people that I was in the breakout room with, and one of them had a bit of an interesting take on these ideas, right? So, how they said was that they were only opposed to they were the only one that they were only opposed to one of them. No, sorry, hang on. They only supported one of them, and the one that they supported. The one that they supported was number 2. The rest of them, 1, 3, 4, 5, they wanted banned. They stated that should be illegal. Now, at first I thought that they were taking the piss, because I thought, like, get out of it. Like, there's no way. Like, you're having a laugh. I asked them, like, are you having a laugh? Like, 3 times. Because I thought, like, there's no way, like, they're actually coming out and taking this very authoritarian stance. Now, I don't know if they were just trolling, but I don't know. Like, it's class. It's university class. So, I don't know. Are people really going to be that? I know if they are trolling, they certainly played it very well. So they didn't really have the care about number 1. They just were like, no, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's dumb. Whatever. Not a strong opinion on that. They said yes, absolutely. Number 2 is all right. That should be allowed. You should be able to have instructions online about how to carry out acts of mass violence. They called number 3, pornography depicting consensual sexual acts amongst adults, degeneracy. Now, I was coming at this, unfortunately the third person in the conversation didn't get to say much, but I was coming at this from a very strong pro-freedom angle. Now, as a libertarian and somebody who loves freedom, what consensual adults do behind the privacy of bedroom doors is their own business. And if they want to produce pornography, as long as it depicts consensual acts between consenting adults, I have no problem with them selling that. That's the free market. Absolutely. That's capitalism, baby. It's interesting that their point of view was not like some kind of anti-sex work angle, even though it was. They labeled it degeneracy. Where have I heard that argument invoked before? Degeneracy. Who uses degeneracy as a crux for their arguments? Number 4, burning the flag in protest against the Iraq War outside the State Library. They called that anti-nationalistic. Whew, we are not going well so far. And then lastly, the use of recreational drugs in a public park during a sunny afternoon. They called that one, as well, you guessed it, degenerate. So, I'm pretty fucking confident calling my classmate a Nazi, alright? Anyone that invokes degeneracy as an argument, come on. Like, even, Christian conservatives don't even use that word. People on the right will call something immoral or against God, but really, rarely you do not hear degeneracy. Coupled with this, strong nationalistic take against burning the flag, real fucking weird. Real weird, mate. And here's the thing, I go to a pretty liberal university. It does have, a socialist presence on campus, but, for the vast majority of the campus, it's liberal. There isn't, very much of a conservative presence whatsoever. The conservative, political-leaning people don't even have a club on campus. They have an unofficial one, but that has about, 20 members out of, several tens of thousands of students. And here's someone coming out very strong with some pretty, well, not pretty, some very far-right opinions. So I was a little shocked. I won't lie. I was a little shocked to find that someone be so open with their opinions in a classroom. Now, I wouldn't mind talking to them again and running it down the line and see just how far down the rabbit hole they go. Because if you're willing to call, this one especially, number 3, if you're willing to call this degeneracy when we're talking about consenting adults, and they made the argument that pornography is destructive, the fucking Endenax argument. If you're willing to speak out against consenting adults, then that is a huge red flag, because that shows that you do not care about people's bodily autonomy. And people's bodily autonomy is one of the most fundamental human rights that I advocate for. So on that topic, on that subject, let me move on from my crazy far-right, possibly Nazi, but definitely fascistic classmate, and give you my opinion on these freedom of speech talking points. So, first one, a newspaper article defaming a member of the public. Well, excuse me, sorry, my nose is a little itchy. I was unclear on the legal definition of defamation. Defamation just means attacking anybody's reputation in any sense, which I feel is a little bit... Look, I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. I'm all okay with some random standing on the side of the road holding a placard that says Joe Biden or Scott Morrison eats babies or whatever. I have no problem with that. We're talking about a newspaper article. Now, the media should be held to a high standard against misinformation. For instance, I'm not 100% sold on this, but I would be leaning towards newspaper articles being prevented from just flat out lying and publishing an article saying Joe Biden eats babies or Scott Morrison eats babies. However, because that is an attack on their reputation, which is technically defamation. Now, like, let's say instead an article gets published in the newspaper, which is an attack on their reputation. However, it's an article exposing, say, I don't know, just say Scott Morrison misappropriated taxpayer dollars, like $20,000 to buy his wife a car. It pulls the receipts. Here's the receipt for the car. Here's a record showing the transfer of funds. Now, this would still have to be investigated. It would still have to be, Scott Morrison would still have to have his day in court. And it would still be defamation. However, it's one with evidence. That's something that shouldn't be able to be attacked. Similarly, we're seeing an example of this right now with the lawsuit against Australian YouTuber Friendly Geordies, which you might have heard about. I talked about it on stream before. FoS has talked about it. Count Dankula's talked about it. A couple of big Australian YouTubers like Lewis Spears and Isaac Butterfield have talked about it. I'm not their biggest fan. However, I'm glad that that's what they're using their platform for. That's fantastic. Basically, Jordan is a YouTuber. He does maybe like 50-50, 60-40 meme content, and the rest of it is attacking the conservative politicians in this country. Now, recently, or not just recently, but for like over a year, Jordan has been making videos about the corruption in the New South Wales coalition government, especially up against the Deputy Premier, John Barilaro. Now, Jordan hasn't been making stuff up. He's been pulling receipts. He's been exposing corruption committed by the Deputy Premier. And now the Deputy Premier is suing him for defamation. So we already see the government infringing on the freedom of speech of an individual who is expressing his freedom of speech, also protected by the freedom of the press, which I'd like to think exists in Australia, but has been attacked in the last 6 months, not just by Jordan, but in other ways as well. So absolutely, in terms of, this might be an attack on your character, but here's the evidence. That absolutely should not be able to be, that should be protected completely by the government. Something like an article that's like, Scott Morrison eats babies, okay, sure. That's just stupid. So there is a bit of grey area with this first one, but not really when it comes to legitimate information. Now, number 2, a website that gives instructions on how to carry out acts of mass violence. This is a no-brainer. No, we should not allow that, okay? Done. Move on. Pornography depicting consensual sexual acts amongst adults. Absolutely. I've already gone over this one. These are consenting adults. It's none of my business. If they want to produce pornography, if I don't like it, then I won't buy it. Simple as that. Burning the flag in protest against the Iraq war outside the state library. Oh! Nothing makes me happier. Really, honestly, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but, genuinely, one of the happiest things that you can show me is somebody burning a flag. The symbolism in that act is so beautiful. People act like we need to give a flag such deference and respect. Bullshit. Burning your country's flag is the most pure expression of the freedom of speech that flag is supposed to represent. I am 100% in favour of burning flags, in protest or just for fun. And guess what? The Founding Fathers agreed with me. In fact, this even went to court. Was it the Supreme Court? It might have been the Supreme Court in America, where someone burned a flag. I think it was in protest for maybe Vietnam? I don't know, something. But anyway, no-brainer. It's a piece of cloth. Get the fuck over it. The use of recreational drugs in a public park during a sunny afternoon. So let's say in this hypothetical that recreational drugs, are legal, because I mean, like, they're illegal now, so you know it doesn't really work otherwise. Anyway, so in this hypothetical, recreational drugs are legal. So here's the thing: right now in current Australian society, there are places in public where you can drink, and there are places where you can't drink. Like, you can't just walk down a residential street drinking, alright? But there is some places, publicly, that you can drink. And I don't just mean, like, bars and cafes and stuff. There is some places where, yes, you can be in public, and you can drink. So let's say, in this hypothetical, that the same rules apply to recreational drugs. So, let's say, in this public park, if this public park has a designated area for the consumption of, drugs and alcohol, no problem. If there's not somewhere in this park where people are allowed to consume drugs and alcohol, well, then that's a different story. But if this park does have a place where it's stated by the law that, next to, like, I don't know, like a barbecue or something in the park, like, yes, in this, I don't know, 30 square meter radius, that yes, you can drink here, yes, you can do drugs, no problem. The argument that centered around this one, for the most part, in class, so people were talking about people going nuts, on drugs. And, like, as I said this morning, public intoxication is already illegal. Like, I can go in and get drunk, but if I start causing a ruckus, they'll lock me up. Same thing for drugs. If someone sits on a park bench and smokes a fat joint, and just goes on about their business, I mean, like, as long as they smoked it in the dedicated area, there's been no crime committed. Now, even if someone goes and does a whole bunch of meth, alright? As long as they're not disturbing the peace, and they did it in the designated area, no fucking problem, alright? Now, if they go crazy, if they're high off their face, or if they're drunk, then yeah, that's a problem. But if they are not causing a disturbance, and within the dedicated area, no problem. That's freedom of speech, and that is freedom of autonomy, my friends. A lot of people, especially on the right, have a problem with this. And like I said, my classmates' attitude towards consenting adults, acts committed... Oh, excuse me. Oh, acts committed between consenting adults. Yeah, he has a problem with that. And that's, gotta be honest, it's a little cringe. Little cringe. Anywho. Ooh, 9:30. Okay. I suppose, I don't... Okay. It's 9:30. I want to go to bed at 10, but I don't think... If Tim's show starts at 10 tomorrow... Okay. It's 10 a.m. my time. Okay, well, I don't have to get up really early. Okay. Do we have time for the Sargon video? I don't know. How long has this been going for? Okay. Although still, I don't want to stay up too late, because I stayed up way too late last night, not through any fault of my own. And besides, y'all are being pretty quiet. Seems like Jataris is finally pissed off. Okay. Alright, well, I think we might leave it there. Well, thank you to Tim Poole for providing information on the New South Wales lockdown rules. That sounds pretty darn fucking scary. I'm not so keen on that. Anywho, thank you all for watching. I love you all very much. Your support is much appreciated. Hey, if you don't mind, chuck me a follow. Head over to YouTube and subscribe to me there. I do prepared content over on my YouTube channel, somewhat infrequently, but hello, I am a student, so I have to devote a lot of my time to that. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord through the link down below. And hey, join us next time and chuck me maybe a couple of bucks my way. And last of all, most importantly, join your union. Thanks for coming.